do a thing that is a thing, and today we're baking! Yay! So today we are making rich scones, and this is a recipe out of Company's Coming
Muffins and More
by Jean Pear, and this is on page 99. This is a really old cookbook, as exampled by the lady on the back is like super old.
Old as the hills.
But this is our mother's cookbook, and we've literally had this as long as I can remember, and most of the things in it are delicious. So let's get started. To make today's ingredients, you will need a large mixing bowl, a smaller bowl to beat the egg, and a fork to beat it with, a whiskey cutty thing, a small measuring cup, measuring spoons, a full cup, and a half cup. For ingredients, you will need flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, 1 egg, and half a cup of butter. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So first, you're gonna mix the flour, the sugar, and the baking powder, and the salt in a large bowl. Pro tip, you also need a knife. Level the flour out. Tap it to make sure there aren't any air bubbles. And a half a cup of granulated sugar. It helps to clean up as you go, because that kind of minimizes the cleaning up you have to do at the end. It says half a teaspoon of salt, but honestly I'm kind of just like, I just pour it into my hand and then I'm just like, whatever. Good enough. Honestly, you're not actually adding salt to make it taste salty, but you should add salt to your baking because it makes it taste nice. It's white. It's white. It's cocaine. Drugs. What's kind of neat about Canadian butter is it actually has like little measurements on the side, so it'll tell you like how much is a cup and stuff, which is really useful.
People who are good at science but say they also can't bake kind of confuse me.
What do you mean you can't? What? It's like exactly the same thing.
Yep.
Alright.
It is literally just chemistry, but delicious.
So what the instructions say to cut in the butter, but I like to cube it up first because that kind of makes it easier. Okay, so that's what this funky cutting tool thing is for. It's for cutting in the butter. So it's a way of like, so you want the butter to be cold, and you just mash it. So if you have like a potato masher, I guess that would work too. You can also, if you don't have a masher thing like this, you can use 2 knives and you go like this. But we're fancy and we have a cutter, so. Yeah. You want to cut in until they're kind of, so you don't have any big chunks, basically. I mean, you're not looking for like smoothness or whatever. It's not like when you cream butter. And when you have delicious buttery chunks, then it tastes good.
Except Diane's definition of yummy sometimes ends up with us having raw scones, which is not fun.
That's why you cook, that's why I like made a little note in the cookbook that you have to like cook it for a long time. Observe. Fun fact, apparently... Did you just get like a bit of shell in there? How do you do that? I'm not... You're terrible at this.
No, see what you do is that if you get a bit of shell in there, you don't need to go fishing around with your hand, which takes forever. You actually use the shell, the rest of the shell itself to get it out. See, I was educational purposes.
Whisk the egg!
Yeah.
Lightly. There is a technique to it. That's good. So pour in the milk. Yes, now pour it into the dry ingredients. All of your wet into all of your dry. And mix it with the fork. Make sure you get to the bottom of it. Like not too fast, you're just kind of mixing it lightly, but make sure you are getting it to the bottom and trying to spread it around, because otherwise you end up with a lot of like little crumbles at the bottom. It's really annoying. You should have probably a bit of like extra crumble left over, just kind of some flour at the bottom that won't stick. Don't worry too much about it. You will also need a baking sheet. Ours is like a professional kind. It's totally flat with a little lip at the edge. And put some baking parchment on it. Honestly, if you can avoid it, try to never put the things you're baking directly onto your pan, because then it starts to get all like goopy, kind of like this, and kind of gross and weird. And honestly, you can just avoid it with parchment paper. It is that easy, and then your baking sheets last a lot longer. Fun tip. This is actually kind of the difficult bit. You basically are going to want to take a couple chunks and mush them into two kind of flattish, remember, take all your rings off, rounds on your baking sheet. So make them kind of the same size so that they cook evenly. Like, that's why you don't, typically, like when you're making cookies and stuff like that, you don't want to make them different sizes, because then they will cook differently. So they are going to be pretty crumbly, and that's perfect. And all that extra kind of dust that you have at the bottom, you can use that to kind of pack it on and make it less sticky. Alright, so now that you've mushed them kind of into two flat-ish kind of roundy things. So we have a special brushy thing that you can use to brush milk on the tops, but you don't actually have to. So take your little...
The thing you measured the milk with.
Take your measuring cup and just pour like a little bit, you don't need much. And take your sugar. And what you're gonna do is you dip it in the milk, and then brush the tops with milk. So this will make it crispy on the top. Not too much. You're not trying to like saturate it. You're just trying to like lightly brush it.
You're like creating a fine layer of glue.
Yes. And then sprinkle it with sugar. This makes it taste extra super good.
This is like the best part.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this is my favorite part. Okay. And that's it. Now put it in the oven. Don't burn your fingers. And set the timer for 19 minutes. It is time. Alright, here we go.
Complete the extraction.
Dun, 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 dun.
If you could smell this right now.
Oh yes, smell-o-vision via the internet. I hope it's not raw in the middle. That's my fear.
How is it, Dan?
I mean, the problem is it's still cooking. Like, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize about food, is that even though you've taken it out of the oven, it's still hot. It's still cooking. Okay, internet, they're all cool now. I'm gonna cut them up. Brianna, do you want to do the honors? We're literally the least elegant cutter I've ever met.
How is there elegance in cutting?
Well, I don't know, but the chefs on TV managed to make it look pretty good. Eat one. Eat it. Eat it.
Hot. Ah, hot. Ow, ow. It's good.
Is it good? On a scale of 1 to 10, how good is it?
13. So that's it. We are all finished making these delicious, rich scones. You should follow the recipe. You should let us know how it went if you do. Be sure to keep an eye on it as it's baking, because it can kind of be a little bit unpredictable. I set the timer for 19 minutes and it ended up being probably about closer to like 25 or so. So I guess we'll see you guys on the Tuesday show. Yep. Brianna will do a thing. It's a mystery. Yeah. But we just baked a thing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Tuesday. Bye!